It's going to some other.
Should we start?
I can see people joining us now. Hey, Prince. Hi, Ajay. I think we'll just wait maybe a couple of minutes and start then.
If you have any questions regarding the CLI, guys, feel free to post. Happy to take them after the demo here.
Awesome. I think, yeah, we can get started, Nilesh. First of all, everyone, thank you for joining us. Super excited to have you here with us. I'm Ishwarya. I'm the co-founder of Inferless. Basically, today's session, so we started doing these live sessions since last month to make everyone, to show what we have been building so far. And like in today's session, we are going to cover that how you can use Inferless CLI to deploy your models effortlessly, right? As you already know that at Inferless, we help companies deploy their, like you can basically deploy any model, whether it is off the shelf, open source, fine tuned custom models with lowest cold starts in a serverless environment. And today specifically, we are going to cover the CLI way of deploying models. I also have Nilesh with me, who is my co-founder and CTO. He will be taking us through the demo of the product, and feel free to add your questions in the chat if you have any, and we'll cover it towards the end of the session. Awesome. Over to you, Nilesh.
Yeah, thanks, Aishwarya. Again, I'm Lesh. I'm the co-founder and CTO at Inferless. Before this, I have 10 years of experience, mostly in machine learning and infra. So again, like when we released the Inferless V1, right, the biggest challenges that developer had that was to when they were deploying machine learning models, they also had to iterate a lot in terms of the configuration and also understand like what is the runtime that is correct for them, right? So for all these iterations, they had to like either use GitHub or like push their code, wait for 10 minutes, and then get the response. The idea was with CLI was to like really integrate in the flow of work of developers and then help them like execute the like most of the commands or the deployment through their laptop and also iterate faster, right? So now we have released a lot of features which helps in that. So I'm gonna walk you through that, right? So I'll just share my screen and probably start with how to uh, get started with the Infilist talks. So here is the like CLI, right? To install Inferless CLI, you can just click on pip install Inferless CLI, and then you can get started from there. In CLI, we have a lot of options. The first thing it will ask you to prompt you to do is basically log in via your workspace token. So you can find them in your like my account and CLI page. Once you have set this token up, what you can do with Inferless CLI is one, you can manage your complete model deployment lifecycle. So let's say I have a model which is stable diffusion, right, where I just have two repos, two files, app.py and input schema. So here I have already like cloned this repo. So what I can do is I can just do an Inferless init. Then it will ask me that, hey, I'm creating a new configuration. Do you want to deploy it through Git or local? Here, I'll just go for local. This is a PyTorch-based model, so I'll select that. Then I'll call it, let's say, stable def, right? Then I have to select a region for GPU. So for the demo, I'll just choose region one. I want like a full dedicated GPU because this is a bigger model. So then it asks me for the types of GPU. So I'll just select A10 here, right? We also have A100, but that's on another region. Once you set this up, then it will ask me that do I want a custom runtime or do I want to use the default one? Since this is using base transformers, I have all the packages in the base one, so I don't need to like go for it. So yeah, this is it. I think in just like 5 to 6 prompts, you are able to basically set up inferless.yaml. Once you have set this up, you can just do a inferless deploy. So what it will do is it will just create the model deployment in your console, and then you can programmatically also deploy models. Let's say if you have a CI/CD pipeline, you also have a non-interactive way in which you can pass all of the configuration as parameters, and then you can still get this deployed. So now if I go to console, I'll probably see that, hey, this model has started deploying, right? So it was super simple. You don't need to like go through anything. You don't need to connect any integration directly from the uh, console itself. You can basically deploy it. So this is the first thing that we have in the Inferless CLI, right? Where you have a full programmatic way of deploying models to Inferless. The next thing that we have is just jumping back to the documentation, is that we have developed a lot of features for developers to also debug the model, right? So our first feature is like Inferless Run. So what you can do with Inferless Run is you can basically take any container and basically run it locally, right? And then you can also see that, hey, what are the logs coming up? What would the container look like in server? It will create the same container and run it as a Docker file. I think Sajin has an interesting question. I'll just probably come back to that after the demo. So for Inferless Run, what you can do is, so here I will just have I have a stable diffusion Excel also here. So here I have a custom runtime, right? Let's say I have a runtime file which has like a couple of pip packages. I'll just show them. So these are the packages here. Let's say I require libdev and like a particular version of torch and accelerate. So I can just specify them here. Once I have this, what I can do here is I can do an inferless run, right? What this will do is it will basically take this configuration and the app.py code, and it will try to create a container for me within my machine itself. Now this is a T4 machine, so here I have a graphic card inside my cloud machine, so I can use this to quickly iterate and see that if there are any integration errors or not. This takes a minute to build the Docker image, and then it starts the container. It will also then give you advanced like configurations of how you can debug the model, how you can quickly iterate the app.py, so that once the functional interface is right, you only deploy it once to Inferless, so that you don't have to like wait for it to build and get deployed again and again. So this is one of the other things that also helps developers. So while this is getting, I think, built, it should take a couple of minutes. We'll probably come back to here. You can also do this in Windows. This client is also works on Windows. And so the next part that we also did is, so there are a lot of folks that also said that came and said back that, hey, we don't have a GPU machine, right? We're using Mac, which I also use, right, to run these codes. For them, we also did a feature called Remote Run. So with Remote Run, what you can do is you can just specify a GPU type which you want to run in, and you just need to install the Inferless library, and then you can just like run this on your local system, and the code will actually get executed on a Inferless infrastructure with a A10 or whatever card you write, and then you will get the result in your local machine, right? So this is something that can also help developer. Let's say if they have their Python code which they want to just call a GPU access for a limited time, right? And we have guaranteed availability and that, and you will be only charged for the seconds where the actual execution runs. We'll not charge you for the build time if you use this. I think this container is up. So now if you see Docker PS, you'll be able to see that, hey, we have run this container for you. And if you do Docker logs, you'll be able to see that, hey, my model was successfully loaded. It also gives you like a curl command. It also tells you how you can like load and unload your model and like quickly debug it, where you will find all the model files. You have all the data, so you can just SSH into this container. If there is an error, you can like quickly check with it. You can also use the curl command to like run the inference. I'll just do that. This is stable diffusion Excel, so it will take like 5 to 7 seconds on a T4 machine. So while this is happening, we'll come back here, right? What we'll also do is we'll also show you like remote run, right? So this is my laptop, right? Where I have the like a code for an image caption model. So just to show like I'll do So here what I want to do is I want to run this pip processor and I want to run it on an A10 machine. And here I have just given a sample image and a sample text, right? So once I do this, all I need, and then I've also defined like a runtime file, uh, which has like torch transformers and PI library. So once I've done this, all I need to do is just do Inferless remote run and then the name of the file and the runtime which I want to use with that file, right? So once I do this, you will see what will happen is the request will go to an Inferless server. It will get the infra ready. Then it will start building the execution environment. And yeah, then it will send like whatever code you have locally to the server. It will execute it. And then as you see, this is the result that actually came in from a remote machine, right? So this is something that you can do. This is super helpful for people who don't have access to local GPUs, who want to test a lot of workflows and want to like see how they can integrate faster with Inferless. Uh, I also have another model. Yeah. So this is also another model where we have like a little bit more complicated app.py. So we have like all the different functions here. So you can also do like any number of local files and like do multiple functions also. So all you need to do is just write the same command. So here it will again like get the infra running and then run this on a A10 machine and then you'll see the output. So basically remote run is one of our latest features. Currently we only have like T4 and A10s as GPUs in this infra, but we're also adding A100. But if you have any of these, you can like quickly test your workflows before you deploy with us in prod. And then you can push the same code in the GitHub or like with Inferless deploy, and then it will run. This is on this. Now coming back, I think here the image byte output came in, right? So what I'll do is I'll just show you how you can quickly debug better also. So what I'll do is in the app.py, I will just like change some of the settings where I'll let's say make it a wrong model. Right, I'll add some characters. So now if I do a Inferless run again, right, it will basically show the failed statement in the Docker log. So basically, I'll be able to debug it a lot faster. So now the image is built, it is just restarting the container. So you'll be able to see that it will say that, hey, it couldn't load or whatever was the error message. You will be able to get it faster from this. Uh, yeah, that's remote run. There are some other things that also Inferless CLI can do. So it can do complete model management. So let's say you want to scale a model, you want to list or rebuild it via programmatic CI/CD. You can also use that. You can also manage volumes via Inferless. So what you can do is you can take a volume and then you can basically I'll just use this one. Yeah, so I think if I do Docker logs, yes, now. So now it has shown me this error, right? So I was able to catch this before and I can fix it and then like deploy it. Switching to volume, right? So what I can do is I can do a Inferless volume list. So here it will show me all the volumes, right? And what I can do is I can just use the CP command to copy like a file from one path to another. So what I can do is I can do Inferless CP, and then let's say if I have a local file, I have a test.sh which I can upload, right? Uh, and then I'll put one of the path, which is here. Let's say I'll just use this test llama, and then I'll go on. So with this, I can just upload this like any file to our cloud storage, and then I can just mount this volume and also use it, right? So this allows like full S3 kind of access. So you can use us to like store everything on our uh, uh, cloud buckets and then use them. Uh, Yep. So I think then we also have a couple of other commands like runtime export. So what you can do is if you have a Python environment or a virtual environment ready, this will also help you generate the inferless.yaml automatically from that command. You don't need to like separately copy paste to a pip freeze and do that. You can also do it from requirements file, but this will directly dump it from the runtime. Yeah, so I think these are like some of the most useful features of the CLI, where it can help developers during the development and to also quickly deploy models to Inferless. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's it for the demo part. Aishwarya, happy to open.
Yeah, that was great, Nilesh. Thanks for showing the demo. I think Ajay has a question that I think you can read it. Like he wants to understand that the various model endpoints can be set up and you only charge for accumulated inference time.
Yep. So I think to answer your question, Ajay, so what you can do is, yeah, you can deploy as many model endpoints as you want. You will only be charged for inference plus cold boot time. There are two components to it. So let's say whatever your Python code takes in this, just to show you the code. Uh, so whatever the code, like the time is taken between your inferless dot initialize function, right? We also charge for that because that's where you're pulling your model weights, and then for the inference time as well. But there's no other charge than that. So let's say if in a day you use it for 30 seconds, and let's say cold start is 10 seconds, we only charge you for 40 seconds of GPU compute time. I hope that answers your question. Yeah.
Great. Nilesh, I also captured a few questions before the session, so maybe we can cover it right now. Since I know that we have recently released the CLI version a few months ago, right? So, are there any limitations when it comes to like CLI as compared to deploying it via our console?
Yeah, so I think we've just released our first version. So we have just like a couple of limitations where if you are using, like you can deploy via GitHub and local code, but let's say if you are doing Docker Hub or something like that, those integrations are still underway. So for that, you might still need to use the console. And then in terms of REST, like anything that you deploy as a local Pythonic file or Pythonic file through GitHub, you can do both of those. You have full access to the remote run where you have access to A10 and T4 GPUs. A100 is still underway, so we are still adding infrastructure for the remote run for that. Yeah.
Yes. Uh, Ajay also has a follow-on question, Nilesh. So, with our Docker, could we create our own agents with vector databases like PG Vector, Llama 3.1 model, and Node application, which exposes the endpoints we can leverage?
Yes, you can completely do that. So what you can do is if you have a custom Docker file, you just need to tell us which APIs you want to expose, and let's say you can package it all up where you have the like vector database also running as a separate port, and then the Flask server running, and then you can expose the Flask via like one endpoint with Inferless. You can do that.
Awesome. I hope Ajay that helps.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's on the limitation parts. Yeah. Any other next question, Sure.
Yeah, we also had one more question. Right, like we have recently, like just a couple of weeks ago, launched RPC, right? So, could you maybe elaborate a little bit on like some real life use cases where developers can use it in their like daily deployment workflows?
Yeah, so RPC is again mostly for the developers who don't have access to a local GPU machine, right? And they still want to test a lot of ML workflows before actually productionizing them. Or the second bigger use case is, let's say if you have a Flask server, right, where you just want one function to run on server and rest all of the application logic uh, in your side, right? Let's say for a similar use case which Ajay had, right? Let's say he only wants the Llama endpoint to be at Inferless, but all the other Flask and vector database to be in his EC2 machine. He can even do that with the Inferless remote run, where he can just initialize that library and send that call to Llama and then keep everything else on his side.
Yeah. I think we can take this follow-on question from Ajay again. So he's asking like some models and database are large images, right? So do we charge for the size of Docker image or is it just the compute time?
No, it's just the compute time. You can
The
store
compute
as
time.
big as image if you want, will automatically like that is free.
Awesome. I think we can take maybe one or two more questions. I'll wait for the audience to add, otherwise, I do have one more question to ask. Cool. So maybe I'll just bring my question. So Nilesh, like of course you mentioned about the current limitations with CLI, right? But if you have to like describe the difference between like who do you suggest like are the ideal people should use be using CLI and like what is the difference with the Inferless console? If you want to highlight some pointers there.
Yeah, yep. So I think I would definitely say it's definitely where your code is. So if you see that major part of your code is like through a GitHub or in a Docker hub, which is managed by a company, or a ECR repository, which is managed by a company, right? You should definitely go ahead with integrations because that will help you use it in the flow of your company. But if you are like, if your company is even too big, where you have your own CI/CD systems like Jenkins, and you want to like deploy via a utility rather than a integration service, that's where you can use Inferless CLI. So you can install this in your build machine, and then your build machine can automatically, after building the artifacts, push it to Inferless, right? So those kind of developers where you have that. And second is for people who want to quickly experiment, right? If you have a new model which you want to quickly like try out, you can use Inferless for that. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. I have a question from AI Insights. I don't know the real name, but yeah. So he wanted to ask, like, wanted to check how do you handle the cold start problem with loading model in memory? Can we set up the policy to scaling too?
So yeah, so first to answer the first part, right? I think there are three major things that we do to load the model in memory faster. So one, we have a warm pool of machines. So this is like automatically predicted by our load balancer that how much buffer should we keep. So if you do typically AWS or any other machine, they will start the machine once your API request comes in. We will start the machine before ahead of time. Second is we also do a lot of predictive pre-caching. So let's say if we have 100 nodes at a point in time, so your models will automatically be cached between 5 to 20, 25 nodes based on like your usage patterns. So it will automatically pre-cache those models. Once it comes to loading, so our load balancer automatically shards models and like stores them in some of the nodes. Third is that we also have written a lot of optimization where we are able to load the model weights super fast from a distributed storage. So that is something that is proprietary to us and we have built. So typically a 16 gigabyte file takes around like 5 to 10 seconds to boot up, and then you can like assume 2 to 5 seconds of container start time. So that makes us like cold boot in like 10 to 15 seconds. So that's mostly how our like cold start or loading in the memory works. In terms of auto scaling policies, we do allow a lot of flexibility in that. So you can control the min-max replicas. You can also use container concurrency to like trigger scale up. So let's say you can have three requests going to the same replica, and then on fourth request we scale up another replica. So you can set up all those things. We can also scale. You can also set up the scale down time. So let's say if you see a traffic pattern which are like together a lot, then you can set up a low scale out time. So you can set up a scale out time of let's say 60 seconds or 30 seconds. If you see that, hey, once the model is loaded, I don't want to unload it for the next 5 minutes, you can also set that up. We'll keep that function awake. So we have a lot of control in terms of how you can define the auto scaling works.
Awesome. I hope AI Insights that answers your question. If you have more follow on, feel free to, I think, add it here. Awesome. Yeah, I think that's it from us, folks. I hope this was helpful. We are again adding a lot of more features to our CLI to make it more seamless for everyone. But yeah, in case you want to quickly give it a try and want to see how you can deploy models using CLI, feel free to join our waitlist, uh, and we will provide you with the access. So yeah, that's it from us, and we will soon keep you posted for our next live sessions. And like, hope to see you in that one again. Thank
Thank you.
you. Have a good
Have a
day.
good
Bye
one.
bye.